Hello there, my name's David Allen. I'm a master of wine, and normally when I make YouTube videos I'm tasting a wine, doing a wine review. Instead, today I'm quite excited to be doing an unboxing video, and not on this occasion for a bottle of wine, but for a suitcase. My reason for doing this is that as a master of wine I'm quite fortunate to be able to travel quite widely around the world visiting wine regions. I probably do this 3 or 4 times a year, and I often need to bring bottles of wine back with me in my luggage. So obviously this is where the suitcase comes in. Now for the last 6.5 years I've owned something called a VinGardeValise, which is a suitcase brand from the US that I believe is probably the best and safest way of transporting wines in your suitcase. Alas, after 6.5 years of use, the suitcase I had, its outer shell had become damaged, it was cracked. And talking to the company, I've found there's a lifetime warranty on the suitcase. So I've been able to speak to them and they've sent me a replacement. And so here's the arrival of my new suitcase. I should say before you get too worried that the suitcase becoming damaged didn't actually lead to any of the wine in it at the time being damaged. So I can assure you no wines were harmed at all in the making of this video. So in some ways it's quite sad. My previous suitcase has been most of the way around the world to me, frequently to Europe, to Spain, to Italy, to Portugal, regularly to Bordeaux, where I've been lucky enough to join in the Entrepreneur tastings over the last few years, to the Languedoc, to Italy, to Tuscany, Slovenia, the United States, Australia, and even up into the wine regions in the north of China. I guess I've also used it for travelling domestically in New Zealand as well, to conferences here. In some ways it's sad to see my last suitcase go, but very exciting to be getting a new one. So let's open it up and I'll see if I can quickly run through the features that I find so useful. I should actually mention that it appears that the package has already been opened while in transit, because we have a sticker saying it's been examined by US Customs. So, as far as I know, they didn't find anything untoward in there. Let's get rid of the packing polystyrene there. And here is my suitcase. Whoop. Let's hope I've not broken that. So this is a slightly more modern version than the one I have. The first thing I notice is that the lock is on the top instead of the previous one that was on the sides. There are some fixtures for straps to go around to make sure the case can be tightly shut. Open it up and show you the inside. Worth mentioning, some really good tough handles. When you've got a case full of wine, it can be quite heavy. To be able to hoist that off one of those moving conveyors in an airport, those are very useful. And there's quite a good grab handle at the bottom there. The wheels, I find those very stable. The case will sit very stably, especially when it's a full heavy case. That's very useful. And the grab handle there extends well, and that's good and solid. Often I've had handles on suitcases like this where those have failed, and I've not had a problem with the previous one of those. So as I say, just to open it up here, what this will show is the very generous amount of this foam lining you have to stop the bottles from being able to move around and clash against each other within the suitcase. So each side has its own compartment. Within those compartments, again, straps, because you've got bottles in here you don't want moving around, because if they're able to clank against each other, they can break inside the case, and I've never had a wine bottle break in one of these cases. Inside the lining you see cutouts for wine bottles. They're also quite handy pull-outs to enable you to get longer wine bottles in, so you can pack various sizes and shapes within the same compartment. And if you want, these foam inserts will come out and you can use one side for your clothes and your belongings for the trip, and the other side can still take 6 bottles of wine very happily. The other thing I would say about the foam, quite important in that it provides thermal protection. Before now, I had an occasion where I had an unexpected layover in Dubai, where I ended up in a hospital separated from my luggage because I'd been in transit there. On that occasion I didn't see my suitcase for a week, and that worried me because there were quite warm conditions in Dubai. I didn't know where the suitcase was being kept and was concerned that the wine might have been cooked. Once I was reunited with it a week or so later, the wine was absolutely perfect inside. So as well as keeping it safe from shock and contact with other bottles, it's also a very good thermal insulator. And at every stage there's plenty of this foam packaging. Now I talked about the lock on this. Have really good zips, they're good and firm. They click really quite easily into a combination lock, but also you have what they call a TSA lock. I think that's an American-based idea, where if transport safety officials want to get into your case, they don't have to smash the lock to get into it. So your case will stay safe from anybody wanting to access your belongings, unless it happens to be the authorities, in which case they can enter it and they can seal it back up again afterwards. And I did have an instance a year ago when I was travelling to the UK from New Zealand, where when I reached my destination I found there was a sticker from the New Zealand authorities on the outside of my case, and I'd forgotten that I'd got a lithium-ion power bank in the case. They'd been able to open it without damaging it, remove that, seal it up again, and I was able to carry on my way. Never saw the power bank again, but that's my fault for forgetting about it. So yes, the VinGardeValise. This is a case that I found absolutely essential. Certainly it's great for wine lovers, enthusiasts, people who are going and visiting wine regions. But for me, as a wine professional, I regard this almost as a tool of my trade. It's essential to have something like this to give me peace of mind when I'm traveling, that if I've got really good wine, it's not going to be damaged, and I'm not going to have to go through the nightmare of picking up a suitcase that's got red wine leaking out of it onto everything else in there. And over 6 years, probably more than 20 trips, I've never experienced a bottle being damaged while I've had it in one of these cases. Now, I've made this video as part of a partnership with VinGardeValise, so if you're interested in purchasing one of these suitcases, or in fact any of the other wine travel accessories that they have on their website, I'll leave a link to their site in the notes below. So do follow that and see what they've got. They've got a great selection of things that will be wonderful gifts for wine enthusiasts. But if you decide to purchase anything, do please use the code David20. I'll put that in the notes below as well, so that's all clearly laid out for you. But in that case, you'll get a 20% discount off any of the items you buy at checkout. As far as I know, they make worldwide delivery available. Certainly I've had no trouble getting this here in New Zealand. This arrived less than a week after I've ordered it. So thank you so much for joining me. I do hope that maybe you'll be able to make some time and come watch some of my wine videos, and alternatively I will be doing some reviews and showing you some videos of me travelling with this and quite how effective it is, so I hope you'll catch up with those in the future. So thanks again for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, do please like, subscribe, pass it on to your friends, and if you've had experience of using the VinGardeValise, do please leave some comments in the notes below. It would be great to hear what your experience has been. So thanks again for watching, and I do hope I'll see you on a video in the near future. Till then, bye for now.